through. And we ended up going through a process and a journey that took a couple years to kind of go through and reset and restart. And I made some very conscious choices during that period of time. And I remember thinking through, like, if I ever had a chance to share this to entrepreneurs, I would tell everybody this first, because if you start here, like, it'll make your journey so much more fun and easy. And if you don't, though, if you just start hustling and start moving forward without thinking through the strategy ahead of time, it can become really painful. So hopefully this will help shortcut a lot of the initial kind of struggle. So the thing I like, I'm a doodler, so I like to doodle. And so for me, there's kind of a 4-step process I think through before I get into any business. And I think that if you spend a little time thinking through this ahead of time, it'll save you so many heartaches and frustrations ahead of time. So this is what first step looks like. This is the fish. And so the question here is who? So the first thing I want to ask you guys is, like, who is it that you want to serve? Okay, business is all about service and helping and changing people's lives. I think sometimes we get caught up in, like, the product that we're trying to sell or the thing that we're, and that's not, like, the business is us serving customers, right? And so for me, that morning when I woke up miserable, I realized that I had picked the wrong customer. I picked customers that I didn't like. I didn't enjoy communication with them. I didn't enjoy interaction. And so when you're not enjoying that piece of it, it's hard. And so when we kind of reset our business 4 or 5 years ago, the first thing is, like, well, who do we actually want to work with? Like, if I could pick my dream client out of a bucket, who would that person be? And we spent time, like, actually crafting that person, thinking through, okay, well, if, like, the people we want to work with in this new business, like, I want to work with entrepreneurs, but not, like, at the time I didn't want to work with, like pre-entrepreneurs. I want to work with people who actually had a business, who were successful and actually wanted to take their business from good to great. And that was kind of our thought. And we started, like, really mapping out who this person was, what they look like, how much money they earn, like, and getting very, very clear on, like, this is our dream customer. Because if I had to hang out with these guys all day long, like, that would be the greatest life of my life. And so that was kind of the first question. And after we really identified, okay, this is who we want to serve, who we want to hang out with, who we want to try to change their lives. The second question now is, okay, now I know who they are. So my next question is, so here's a little pond. Like, where are these people hanging out at? They're somewhere. The second question is where? Like, where are they hanging out? And the coolest thing about the internet, because I don't think this was true, 15 years ago this wasn't true. I think about if I would have been interested in potato guns 15, 20 years ago, and I was like, I want to sell potato guns, it would have been hard for me to find those people, right? There might have been, like, the one dude here, we're in Boise, so there's a lot of potatoes. Probably 30 guys here in Boise that care about potato guns. There's one dude in Chicago. There's one guy in New York. Like, it's hard because they're all over the place, and it was not efficient for us to go and target those people. But the internet's cool because the internet's given all of us a chance where, like, we all get to hang out with people that actually believe what we believe and have values like we have values and things that we care about, right? Think about in your personal life, like, what are the blogs you read, or what email lists are you on, or what Facebook groups do you hang out in, right? And everyone's got different passions that you're excited about. So if you think about, like, if you can identify exactly who your dream clients are, let's say there are people that like to juice and they're healthy people. The next question, where do people like to juice hang out? Well, they're hanging out on these Facebook groups, they're on these email lists, they read these blogs. And so we can identify, like, wow, that's where they're at. Okay, and so that's the next thing. If you can do that, like, this becomes really easy because now it's not like this nebulous thing. A lot of people think about the internet is this big, this big thing where we're trying to find people, but it's very specific. If I know who I'm looking for, I can figure out where they're at. Now I just got to get in front of those people. So then the third step in this process, call it bait. So what's the bait I got to create? So this is me or you over here that we can create that's going to get our dream customer excited. Where they're going to be like, holy cow, I need that thing, right? And so for me, when we kind of reset our business, I look back and I was like, okay, if I want to attract really successful entrepreneurs, like, what would get them excited? Like, I don't know what that thing is. And I was looking through everything we'd done in the past, and at that time, we had probably 5 or 6 businesses we were running, and we'd run a whole bunch of split tests, and we had really good split testing results. And I was like, what if I took all of our split testing results and put them in a book and just gave it away? And I was like, that's something my dream client would freak out about. They'd be like, I want your split testing results. But the other side of it, what was cool is that not only did it attract my dream client, it, like, repelled everybody else.
Because they weren't ready to do a split test or have never done one, and so didn't value the results of yours.
Yeah,
right.
Like, someone wants to get rich on the internet, they see, like, how to do a split test. It's like speaking Chinese to them. They're like, I don't know what that means, and they leave really quick, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't convert it
Right.
doesn't convert, but that's what we want. So it pushes away the people I didn't want. But then people that my dream customers, like, they just, like, ate that thing up like crazy. Like, that was exactly what they wanted. And so I'm always sitting back thinking, like, what's the bait I got to create that's going to attract my dream clients? When they see that, like, they can't help but, like, buy it because it's so sexy and so exciting for them. And so that was the next step. And I remember the first year that we took that book, and it was free plus shipping, but it was just something we put out there. We gave away about 10,000 copies of that book, and brought 10,000 people into our world that were just like people I would pay to hang out with.
We'll break down that process here for you guys, later, because that's the secret sauce.
That's the funnel. We'll go into that. But it was like we brought 10,000 of these people into my world that were people I would pay to hang out with. And then the last step in this is after you create something that gets those people in. Then the last step, and I think a lot of times in business we think about like what's the product we're going to sell, and for me, the product doesn't really matter. Like people don't buy it. Like you don't get into business because of a product. Like nobody cares about the product, right? What they care about, they want the product because they're looking for a result. I can't remember who it said. Somebody said that like when you go trying to buy in a drill, like
drill in the whole example.
Yeah, like you want a hole in the wall. That's what. Yeah, it's a very that's what you're looking for, right?
Yeah, people don't buy a drill because they want a drill. They buy a drill because they want a hole.
Yeah,
and that's one of the core epiphanies that every entrepreneur must have at some point, and that really is, for me, one of the entry-level defining differences between an amateur entrepreneur who doesn't get it and one who gets it, is they understand what they're actually selling.
Yeah.
And you're not selling your product or service, you're selling the result, or the benefit that those people actually are trying to acquire.
Yeah.
So
that's the key. So I started looking at, all right, what's the result I want to get? If I could serve this person at the highest level and give them the most value, like what would that look like? So my goal is after I get this person in, like how do I get them that result? And then from that's where your products, your services, your coaching, whatever it is you're doing, everything's based around giving people that result. And that, we call that in our company the secret formula. So whenever we get started, that's it. Like, who's our dream client we want to serve? And we spend a lot of time. Most people are like, oh, I want to serve this person, and they think through it fast. Like we spend a day or two like just getting crystal clear, 100% on who that is. And after we know that, now after you have a very clear picture, it's easy to find out where these guys are at. Then we come back and say, okay, what's the thing we can create that's going to get those people to go nuts? Create the bait that brings them into our world, and then we focus on, after they come in, how do we get these guys results? What's the process or the path or the thing that we're going to take them through to get them the best results? And after you kind of figure out that piece, that's the hiring strategy. And we'll go into the tactics now, but like this is something I spend a lot of time just sitting back and looking at. It's basic and it's simple, but it really is the key infrastructure for everything you're going to try to do inside your business. All right, so what I want to do now is I want to start diving a little deeper now that we move from strategy to more of the tactical piece. So I want to talk about this because the traffic stuff we'll get to, and this, but like the first piece of this now is, okay, what are we going to sell and what are we going to create and how are we actually going to sell that, right? And so let's just say, for example, you picked a market, like okay, I want to serve people that want to become healthy. I know what these people are. Like you're going to create something. So let's just say you decide I'm going to make an ebook, sell for $29, or I'm going to whatever it might be. I want to kind of prepare you so you don't just try that and fail and think this whole internet thing doesn't work, because there's some basic things. If you understand it, it will open up the doors to this whole world. So what I'm going to do, and I'll tell you a story that'll help illustrate this. So when I was launching our potato gun business, this is kind of what happened to us. So this is, probably 10, almost 12 years ago now. So back then, internet was in its infancy. I think it was a lot easier back then. In some aspects it was harder, but there was a lot less competition. So I had this little website, and I just modeled some other guy's website I found. I had a page like this. There was a headline up here. That's this headline, and there was some copy, and then some pictures, and some more copy, and some pictures, and then a big button that said, "Buy now." And I think at the time we were selling the DVD for like $27, right? And that was my business. It was a website, and that's how most people's businesses were back then, 10 years ago. And then we went over here to big Google, and we started buying Google ads. And the way the metrics work is we were paying, I don't know, anywhere from $7 to $10 in Google ads, getting people here to sell one DVD, right? And so it's basic arbitrage, right? I'd spend $10, I make $27, so I'd pocket $17. My wife and I go out to dinner and have a celebration, right? And we do it once or twice a day. It was a big deal for us back then. And so that's how the whole business worked. And the problem is that people like Mike and me started talking about like how exciting we were about money on the internet. Everyone's like, oh, people are making money on the internet. And so everyone started jumping into these different markets. And it's just basic supply and demand, right? As demand went up, supply goes down, and costs went up. So Google started shifting how they did things. And I went from spending $10 to sell a DVD to now I was spending like $60 to sell a DVD. And that's, I'm not a mathematician, but it's hard to run a business where you spend $60 to make $27. I ran that for a week or so, and then I was just like, I just turned off my ads. Like I was done. And for me, I was like, man, I was in the bubble. I made some money. The bubble popped. Like it's over. And luckily for me and for all of us, there's some really, really smart marketers out there, and who are always testing and trying some things. And I had a friend who came to me one day and he said, hey Russell, I figured out this thing. He said I went back to all my sites that used to make me money, and he went back and said I started adding these things, and he called them, I still remember he called them OTOs. OTO. Now, OTO stands for one-time offer. So imagine like somebody buys your thing, and the next page you're like, wait, I got a special one-time offer. Because you're a brand new customer, because you bought this thing, I want to offer you something really, really cool that normally would cost more, but you get the special deal because you're here today, right? So we had this one-time offer, and I was like, what do people that buy potato gun DVDs, what else do they want? And I was like, well, maybe they want a potato gun kit. And so I didn't really want to make potato gun kits. So I found this dude in northern Idaho who was making potato guns, and he would drop ship potato gun kits to people for me. And we'd sell those for $197. And this page was basically like, hey, normally a potato gun kit, if you go buy it yourself, it's gonna take tons of time and energy, and you might not even have the parts where you're at. And we kind of talked about that. But if you buy the kit, we'll mail it out for $200, we'll send you the kit, and you can make your own potato guns. And it's a special one-time offer, it's only available right here. And if people said yes, then we'd bill their credit card, and then we'd send them out the potato gun kit. And so we started doing that, and then what happened that was kind of cool is that we'd still sell this right here, but then we started getting about 20% of the people that hit this page would buy this kit. And so if you do the math on that, I'm not that good at math on the fly, but we were making an extra, what's $200 divided by 5? Whatever that
40.
is. 40. We got the mathematicians. So we made an extra $40 on every single customer. So now we're making $67. So you come back here, now we're making $67 on average for every, whatever this was. And I don't think it got as high as 60, but even if it was $60 to sell one, we're still making $7, and now we're back in business. Now we can start doing things again. And so for me, that was like the big aha, was I shifted from just having this website to having what we call a funnel. So this is probably why it's called a funnel. If you look at it, it kind of funnels people down, and each step there's less people buying it, but typically you're selling more and more things, and it increases how much money you can make. And so that's kind of the basics of how I got into this whole funnel game.
Yeah. So let's clear that off real quick and start at the beginning. And once you have the 4 pieces of your puzzle that Russell went over a few minutes ago, the next question is, okay, well, what do I do from here? And assuming you already have a product or service of some kind, the question is, okay, how do I sell this to more people? And you've got really 2 options at that point. You've got what most people do, which is they post on their Facebook account or Twitter or write a blog post or maybe put something on YouTube or whatever, but it's kind of a desperate stab in the dark at getting attention for your product or service. And most people, from an entrepreneur standpoint, are in love with their product or service, and they don't understand why other people, everybody else on the planet's not buying it because it's the greatest thing ever. And inevitably, no one buys their product or service, and they've already spammed everybody that they know. And so what do you do at that point? You're back to square one. Well, that's when amateur entrepreneurs call it a scam and go back to their day job, where professional entrepreneurs say, okay, well, maybe I need to actually treat this like a business. So what would a real business do? What would Microsoft do, or anybody else? And the question is, well, it's to advertise. And what you're really looking for here is to bring attention to your company, to your product, and to your offer. And so the only way to get attention on a consistent basis that you have control over, which you need as a business, is to go out and set up advertising campaigns. The internet is by far and away the best place to do that today. We're not even going to bother talking about TV, radio, or any of that stuff. The problem that most people run into at that point is advertising costs money. And for guys like us, when we were first getting started, you typically don't have money to put into an advertising campaign. And to make advertising work is the secret to the sauce, because anybody can put a little bit of time and effort into setting up an ad campaign in some form or factor. 90% of the time it's probably not going to work. And even if it does, you're going to run into the issue that Russell just brought up, which is it could cost you as much or more from an ad spend perspective than you would make back from the sale of that product, which means you're back to square one. So what do? So for me, this is the secret sauce. If you can figure out this part of the business, you're 99% of the way there to building a 7 or 8 figure company. So would you mind walking people through, what that would look like if they're just starting out and what they need in place, which is essentially a funnel, in order to do that successfully?
Yeah, definitely. So the first thing to understand is that there's different types of funnels. I always get nervous when I'm like, show someone a funnel because they're like, oh, that's what a funnel is. But a funnel can be a lot of things. And there's webinar funnels that I know you're amazing at. There's low ticket funnels. There's a whole bunch of different types. And so, but the concept behind all of them are the same, right? The coolest thing about what we do is you can draw out what the funnel looks like. You spend some ads, and you can look at where the numbers are, and then you can make little changes based on that. And so that's kind of the thing. So there's a lot of kinds we could talk about, but I think probably one of the ones that would be the easiest to talk about, because it's something very clear. I can share with you our numbers on it. Is like one of our book funnels. And so I've done this funnel, man, probably 5 or 6 times for myself. We did one for Tony Robbins. We did one for Dave Asprey. We've done one for a whole bunch of other authors, and it works consistently. So it works for the book, but we had one of our ClickFunnels members recently who took our book funnel in the gun market, and he doesn't have a book, but instead of giving away a book, he gave away gun targets. And the first 12 months in business, he did over $20 million in sales by just doing the same process with a different business, different thing that he was selling. So it works in a lot of different ways. So I'll kind of share the book funnel, but again, it can be interchanged with whatever it is, your product, your services. Because writing books is usually not the best first place to start, because writing a book took me 10 years. So it takes a while, but it'll work with anything.
So this is a really interesting point. We talk about this with Tucker, and we did a society lesson with Tucker. Books are not profitable. If you sell a $19 book, the author might walk away with $5. And so you wonder why authors have such a hard time selling their book if they don't, for some reason, take off from a PR perspective, or they already have an existing customer base. 99% of the books on the shelves that you see have probably only sold 100 copies.
It's crazy.
Something like that. And it's because there's not enough money in it to be able to pay to advertise it. So it has to rely on word of mouth or PR, which is just not going to work for most people. This model, which we went over in Tucker's lesson as well, is a way for you to actually take control of the marketing process of a book and sell as many copies as you want.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, for me, when we launched our book, I didn't have a PR company, I didn't have any of those things. And so, but with that said, in the last 12 months, we sold almost 100,000 copies of my book, and we actually make money for every book we sell, which I'll kind of show you the process. So this is the model. The same model we did for Tony Robbins, same thing we did for Dave Asprey. Is basically you have a landing page, and there's different ways to do it. For my book, I gave away my book for free and charged shipping and handling. Dave Asprey, I know he was very he didn't want to devalue his books. Instead, we sold his book for $20, but then gave free shipping, and conversion rates were almost the same. It didn't really matter. So, but the key is just having a really good offer. Again, this is the bait that you're throwing out that's going to get your dream client excited. So for me, it was a book. For Trey Llewellyn, it was gun targets. That's what got his people excited. Oh, free gun target. So something that's the bait that's going to get somebody excited. So I always think about in your market, if someone's in a Facebook thing and they're scrolling through and they see a quick picture or something they get for free or for really low, what would make them stop? Whoa, okay, if that's true, I really want that thing. I want to click on that thing.
What do you refer to that as within your business?
Yeah, within the market, it's kind of Perry Belcher termed it a tripwire, which is kind of what the industry calls it. So we call it a tripwire offer. It's something that's low ticket, just something that
impulse
just grabs them. Yeah. We're oh, free gun targets, I want that. Oh, free book, I want that. We've had people do MP3 players with content. There's so many cool things you can do. It's something where it's grabbing their attention and they have to stop because they want that. And so, and then what I have a little video here of me talking about my book and why it's so cool. The funniest thing is we had a professionally produced video, and then the video was getting produced and I wanted to go live. So I just got my iPhone out and I had a picture of my thing. I'm hey, this is Russell. And I just talked about how excited I was about the thing, and I opened up the book and I was showing it, and I put that video in and we launched that initially. And then we came in 3 or 4 days later with a nice produced one. It actually hurt conversion. So it was me with an iPhone just talking about how excited I was about this thing. So it doesn't have to be Hollywood production. Your iPhone, selfie style videos with your iPhone on these things, because it's not a huge sell. It's just showing how excited you are about the thing will get other people excited as well. So we had that. And then over here, there's a form where we have people put in there, let us know where to ship things. And then down here, there's some copy that kind of justifies the sale and gets them excited about what it is. But it's a pretty simple page right there, right? And so that's the first thing. Now for me, again, my book, I think we charge $7.95 shipping and handling. And so there's not a lot of profit there. And the first step we do is after somebody fills out this form, then again, we're always in the funnel trying to figure out different ways to increase the value of every customer that's coming through. And so I thought, well, if people buy my book, what would be what's the next logical thing that they would probably want? And I know for me, whenever I buy a book, maybe I'm weird, but I buy the book and I always go to Audible and try to find the audiobook version so I can I'm not sure if I'm gonna have a chance to read it or listen, but I want both of them, right? So I did this thing we call the order form bump. It's just this little thing that says, there's a little check mark before they put in their credit card, or after they put in their credit card that says, yes, I also want the audiobook version for $37. And that's what it was. We put a $37 bump for the audiobook. I know with Trey, with his gun targets, I think he gives away 5 free gun targets. And this is hey, do you want an extra 30 gun targets? People shooting guns, they run out of targets, right? So he's hey, for an extra $15, you get an extra 30 targets, whatever it was. So something very simple. It's just kind of more of what they just got, right? And so that was kind of the next step here. And I'll walk through the numbers from the campaign as a whole here in a little bit, but that's kind of the first step. Then the second piece in this process is, you remember I talked about after you find your dream client and you give them bait, the next step is what's the results I want to give somebody, right? And so for me, I'm thinking through now they've got the book, what's the next logical way that I can serve them and give them more value and help them to get to that result they're trying to get?
What's the next big problem that's standing in their way?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And and this is the key. I messed this one up for probably 4 or 5 years. In fact, one of our TJ, one of our friends, one day called me out on it. And what I used to do, I'd sell something, a book on a topic here, and then my upsell would be like kind of the same thing. And it never really, not many people ever bought it. And I couldn't figure out why. And he called me on the phone and was just like, dude, I know why people aren't buying your upsell. I'm like, why? He's like, you're selling something you're selling like more of the same thing they already bought. He said, you have to understand, like when somebody buys this first thing, let's say we're in the weight loss market, right? Let's say this is showing someone how to drink green smoothies to lose weight. As soon as they buy that, like people buy things because we have like an itch, right? Like something's not uncomfortable. We feel like we're overweight, or we feel like we need more money, or whatever your business is. As soon as they buy that, even though they haven't consumed the product yet, they feel like, oh, could that itch has been scratched. Like, cool, I take care of that problem. And so when you're coming here and the next product's like, okay, you just bought my green smoothie recipe book. I'm going to show you 50 more ways to make green smoothies. Like, there's going to be some people that buy that, for the majority will be like, smoothies. Like, there's going to be some people that buy that, for the majority will be like, oh. So you have to start thinking through, okay, they lost weight. What's the next logical thing?
I was going to say, the key to this is you just use the word, the next logical thing. And so if you look at it from a, let's say it's a weight loss juice. Let's say they bought a juicing detox ebook, right? How to detox your body in 7 days or whatever. Well, your upsell would say, hey, we're so glad you're about to detox and cleanse your body. You're going to benefit from that in this way, this way, and this way. And once you go through this detox body, you're going to feel like this, and that means you're going to be ready to take the next chapter in your health and evolution, which is to start to lean out or bulk up, whatever it is, right? Whatever the next logical step a person would take in their health cycle, and then that's what you would offer them, right?
That's the key.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's always thinking back, what's the end result? Where are we taking these people to? What's the next thing they need to get closer and closer to that result? And so for this book offer, the next thing logically that people needed in my world, my customers, is like, now they've got this thing that shows them how to build a funnel. The next thing they need is they need traffic to that funnel. So that became the next upsell. I believe we sell that for $197. And they can say yes or no. And it's not a high pressure thing. It's like, hey, you want this? If you do, click the yes button. If no, click the no button. And that's kind of what happens here. And then there's different ways to do it. Again, every funnel is kind of different. Like some people would say, if they say notice, you might downsell payment plan, or maybe you downsell a smaller version. But for me, for this funnel, I didn't. I just knew that this gives them the funnels, this gives them the traffic. And the last piece that I felt people needed to really get the result is to know how to sell. So we had another offer here for one of our sales courses that's $297. And that was the last thing. And then from there, we take them to the end of the funnel, we say thank you, and kind of show them what's going to happen. But that's kind of our book funnel. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4 things that we're selling. And again, that's just one way to structure. There's tons of different ways you can do it, but this is the way we did it for our book funnel. Any questions about that at all?
No, let's go through the numbers with them now and talk about how that worked to kind of round it out.
Yeah. So, all right. So if you start looking at this, right, like you talked about before, like most authors, they sell a book and they make $2 or $3 on the book, maybe $5.
Yeah,
right?
and most business owners in general make their one product that they're proud of, and they have it at the beginning, and that's where they stop.
Yeah.
And you can't build a business on a product.
Yeah.
So
that's kind of it. So we came back here to launch the book, and if you look at the stats, we've run this campaign now for over a year, so it's not something brand new. Things kind of settle. If you look at when all said and done, so we come over here and we buy ads from a lot of places. So we've got Facebook ads, we've got partners that sell the book. We've got banner ads, email. There's a lot of ways we drive traffic. Right? So here's the traffic's coming from over here. On average, we spend across all of our sources about $12 to give away a free book, right? So if you look at that, it's like, oh crap, Russell, you're spending $12 to make $7.95. Like again, we've got a math problem here. No matter how hard we try, that business is never going to make money by itself. But then what's cool is that right here, we get about 22% of the people on this one to buy the $37 bump. Okay, and in some markets, this is way higher, some it's lower, but for this specific campaign, about 22% of people buy that. So I don't know if I did math that fast on top of my head, but it gets us to where we're profitable. So immediately after this, we're at least break even. And I'm always telling my clients, like the initial goal is to get to break even as fast as possible. Businesses that take 6 months or a year to get to break even stress me out. I can't play
I'm the same way.
I have to break even at point of sale, or else I'm not going to do it. Okay, and so 22% buy this. With this upsell right here, I believe we're about 5% take this, and then over here it's like a little less. It's about 4% take this. Okay, so I don't have numbers from right now, but if you look at this, so for me there's 2 core metrics that run my entire funnels, and if you understand this, it becomes really cool. So my first metric is right here. It's just my cost to acquire a customer. So I spent $12 to get a customer. That's the first thing. And the second metric over here, I call this my average cart value. So what that means, I know it sounds kind of nerdy and techy. What that means is basically, let's say I sell 10 books. Let's say we sell 100 books here, and and then I look at how much money I made through this whole thing. I just take the 100 books divided by all the money, and I say on average, anytime I get a customer, on average he or she spends X amount of dollars. And so for this campaign right now, my cost to acquire a customer on average is $12, and then our average cart value, when you look at all the numbers and the metrics right here, equals $32. And so that's what happens. So I spend $12, I make $32 immediately before we ever sell them anything else, and now we've gotten paid, what's the math on that, about $20 is our profit for each customer that comes through. So that's kind of how the math works on that. So what's cool is that I remember my wife, when I first finished my book and I spent all this time and effort, and I put it up and I showed her the page, she's like, why are you giving away that for free? That doesn't make any sense. Like, you spent so much time doing that. And I was trying to explain it. I don't think she ever really got it. But that's the key, is I'm doing this and now it becomes profitable. So for me, I make $20 for every new customer I bring into my world. And then anything else we sell them afterwards is pure profit. There's no new cost on that.
And I just want to point out to people, that's really rare. It's really rare to be able to acquire customers at a profit on a fairly large scale. Most businesses that and if you can share one of these stories that I know you've consulted with companies that have made offers to buy your company, were like, how are you acquiring customers and still making a profit? Because most companies, frankly, don't do that. So if you would share that story real quick and kind of like what they're used to and what they were seeing you guys do and the short circuit they were having,
yeah.
Right?
It cracks up. We were, it was actually a block from here. We had some VCs that wanted to invest in our ClickFunnels company. And so looking at the metrics and everything, and one of the core metrics that big business owners want is like, what's your cost to acquire a customer? And I was like, well, when we're driving Facebook ads to get a ClickFunnels trial customer, it's about $120. And they were like, well, that's amazing, right? Because they're used to, VC-backed companies get, here's $50 million in money, go spend it and get customers. And I was like, well, we actually turn the campaigns off. And they're like, well, you're acquiring customers at under $120, $130 a customer. Why would you turn that off? And I was like, well, first off, I'm spending my own money. Like, as an entrepreneur, it's coming out of my own pocket. Like, that stresses me out. And I was like, oh, and the other cool thing is that we have a bunch of funnels like this that bring in customers for free. So actually, I make $20 for every customer I bring in. And then on the backside of this, I introduce them to my product as customers. I remember explaining it to him, and he didn't get customers. I remember explaining it to him, and he didn't get it. And I was like, okay, well, and I had to map out 4 or 5 times, and finally he was like, wait, so you're saying before someone ever sees your software, you've profitably made $20, and then you introduce them to the company? And I was like, yes. So every customer, we get paid $20 to get that customer, and then
we send them an email to tell them about ClickFunnels.
That's all free.
Right.
And he was just like, if that's true, he's like, that would change the entire business world as a whole. And I was like, it is, but I don't think people grasp it. Like, it's kind of a hard thing. And so for us, like, we've got probably 5 or 6 funnels like this on the front end that are bringing people into our world. And when we were talking to him, he was shocked how fast we were growing. I was like, it's because we're growing fast because we're not spending our money. Like, we're profitable from day one. And I thought, for me, like, just like you, like, it stresses me out. I don't want to be profitable 30 days from now or 60 days. Like, I need to be profitable day one, and then we can grow from there.
Awesome.
Now, one cool thing, if you think about it, so I have a friend that recently worked on an offer for him. He's in the biohacking world. He had a biohacking book, and I don't want you to think that all these things are a home run day one. In fact, most of my funnels don't work day one. Like, what happens is we put up something like this, we start driving ads, and what's interesting is you'll see, I'll make this purple. So purple is kind of, this will be like the first test, right? So we do some stuff and we come in and we're like, okay, it's costing us $22 to acquire a customer. Over here, let's say this page right here, we're getting 3% of the people to buy books, and over here we're getting, let's say it's 1% to buy this, and we're getting 15% to buy here, and we're getting 1% to buy here. And so you do the whole campaign, and it's horrible. So for this book launch that we did, he was averaging $20 to get a customer. I think his cash was like $13. And we ran it for a week, and we came back and said, here's the numbers, and he started freaking out. He's like, we're losing money, like, we need to shut the whole thing down. And I was like, no, this is how the game's played. Like, we spend a week, we look at what the numbers are at, and then we can stop. And the cool thing about this is that it's not like I don't know, I've never fixed a car, but I assume you fix a car, you open the hood, and there's all these things, you're like, I don't know what to do. Like, there's so many things, right? With this, there's not that many pieces. There's the ad, there's this page, there's this thing, and this thing. And so I step back, and I'm like, okay, well, if we look at this, 15% is awesome. Don't touch this, it's perfect, it's flawless. This right here, maybe it's low, so what can we do to make this better? This right here is really low, like, this is really bad. We're at 1%. And so, like, this offer is either the wrong offer, nobody wants it, or the way we sold it was wrong. And so we just tweak a couple little things, and we make some changes to the ad, and then we let it run again for a couple days. And then we look at it again. Okay, and so with his book, I think it took us three tests, try some things, test it, try some things. And within 3 tests we got, now right now his book, we're spending $6 to acquire a book customer, and he's making $18 average cart value. And now it's this huge campaign, and now we're blowing it up. But it took us 3 or 4 iterations over about a 2-week period of time before we got it. And then now we got something where he's making customers profitably. And he's kind of a newer entrepreneur. He doesn't know the numbers yet. But I know that based on the numbers, he'll beat $1 million a year one from this campaign. And I haven't quite told him that yet because I want to keep him hungry and excited. But I know based on what it is, because right now we're getting 50, 60 customers a day coming in, and it's just I'm watching the customers grow up profitably, and we haven't even started selling the next thing yet. And so it takes a little time initially, so don't stress out if